I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby, here with Kotaro Tamura, the director of the new animated film Josee, the Tiger and the Fish. And to start things off, this is a story that's been adapted many times over the years. What did you want to do differently with this adaptation?
はい。では、今回の、映画のアダプテーションなんですけど、この作品、原作としてはもう何度も、映画化されていたというか、いろいろな、アダプテーションがあるんですけれども、今回田浦監督の、方向性というか、今回映画化にあたってのアプローチというのは、どういう形を取ったのでしょうか。
そうですね。前向きな終わり方にしたいっていうのは当初から決めてまして、で、なんかその参考で障害のある方が出てくる作品とかもいくつか見たんですけども、なんか結構その悲しい終わり方をするものがやっぱり多いんですよね。そのハンデをなんですかね、その現実の象徴と捉えて、現実甘くないんだっていうことをこう見せつけるみたいな、そういう映画がちょっと多いかなと思いまして、なんかそのハンデのある方だって次に前向きな終わり方にできる物語だってあるんじゃないかなと思いまして、描き方次第でこの原作はどちらとも触れる作品になるなと思ったので、ちょっと、今度はアニメとしては前向きな終わり方にしたいなと、そこは明確にありました。
So one of the most clear and tangible sort of goal that I had in adapting this film was that I wanted to have a more uplifting ending. And so while we were developing this film, we were referencing a lot of materials from other adaptations. And it seems to me that a lot of the other adaptations of movies tend to end the film in a rather sort of sadder ending with a darker tone, with a more sort of this realistic view of what it means to have a disability or a handicap. And so we wanted to sort of shift the tone a little bit to where for this anime, we wanted to have more of a positive outlook or the uplifting sort of energy for the ending, just because we didn't think that, just because having a disability or handicap, doesn't mean that, it has to be all about, sadness or hardships or, facing realities or, that type of harsh message. We wanted to have a very uplifting and positive message for this film. And so that was one of the clearer goals that we have in approaching this adaptation.
I'm curious, was there an aspect of the story that you actually felt the most connected to?
そう、田村監督の、個人的に、その映画の中で、この部分が一番こう、なんだろう、心がこう響いたっていうか、こう、なんだろう、自分のこう感情が共鳴したっていう場面っていうのはありますでしょうか。
そうですね、いっぱいあるんですけど、エモーショナルになんか描きたいなと思って、特に気を使ったのは舞のシーンですかね。ジョゼと舞がちょっと玄関先で言葉を掛け合うシーンがあって、あそこのシーンは何ですかね、ちょっと常雄が不在ではあるんですけれど、お互いが本音とそうじゃないものをぶつけ合ってむき出しの感情になるっていうシーンで、あそこはちょっと恋愛とはちょっと違うのかもしれないんですけど、盛り上がってほしいなと思ったところですね。はい。音楽もちょっと何度も調整していただきました。
So there's a lot of scenes that I can come up with that I really connect with, but I think one of the standout scenes is when Josee was arguing with Mai at the front door of her house when Tanel was hospitalized. And so that sort of back and forth interaction, this sort of clash of emotions, where they're trying to be really honest, but also there's a lot of front-facing things going on where they're a little bit dishonest and honesty at the same time. It's just a lot of emotions clashing between them, and so that's something that I really took care to really portray. And looking back, I did a lot of adjusting with everything from the music, of the scene and in the entire atmosphere. And so I really have a deep connection with that particular scene.
And the characterization of Josee is very interesting because she is a wheelchair user, and while she is saved by Tsuneo a few times, she also has a very bold personality and an individuality. What was your approach for giving her that sense of agency?
そのジョゼというキャラクターは、車椅子によってハンディキャップがあるし、常雄に何度も助けられたりはするものの、自分のなんていうの、意志というか強い意志を持った女性であり、自分のその個性というのをすごく大事にしているようなキャラクターだと思うんですけれども、そんなジョゼのキャラクターをそのキャラクター性を、うまく描写させるためにどういったアプローチを、取ってきたかっていう質問ですね。
そうですね。僕がこの原作を読んだ時に何がいいってやっぱりこのジョゼのキャラクターがいいなと思ったところなんで、それをその原作の良さを最大限生かすためにはどうしたらいいかっていうのをすごく考えました。例えばなんかその、デザイン面で言うと表情が分かりやすいように少しちょっと前髪を短くしておでこを出して表情が分かりやすく、してみたりとかですね、それから何ですかね、素直ではないなかなか素直にはなれないだけれど後半に行くに従ってその素直じゃなかった女性が素直になっていくっていうそのギャップというか心の変化を丁寧に描くことで彼女の魅力を引き出せればなと。最初はちょっとね、出会い頭はありがとうすら言えなかった彼女が後半になったらこんなに変わったんだっていうそこが伝わるといいなと思って作ってました。
So actually, when I read the novel first, the first thing that I really loved about the whole story was, in fact, Josee's character. And so when adapting this film, I really, thought about how best to portray Josee's character, because I thought that was directly linked to how the movie was going to play out. And so in terms of her character design, we wanted to make sure that her facial expressions were, very clear to the audience. So we made sure to, cut her bangs a little bit shorter so that you can see her entire face, and so that her emotions can be displayed clearly. And other things such as, her growth throughout the film, where, in the beginning, where, she can't even really say thank you. She has trouble, expressing gratitude and stuff. And so she's very, she's not very honest. She has a trouble being honest with her feelings. But as the story progresses, in the latter half, she starts to really show her inner honesty a lot more, and being able to illustrate that change from the beginning to the end was something that we really paid attention to.
Mm-hmm. And speaking more to that visual design, there's also a very striking use of color in a lot of the outdoor scenes and in the background, like the bubbles in the water and the cherry blossoms, the trees. It's all very detailed. Did you find any one of those to be more challenging than others to accomplish?
そのデザインという話があったんですけれども、今作、いろいろな、色彩など、色だったり、桜の、木だったり、海の、水中の、泡だったり、そういった色使いがすごいいろんな、使い方や色鮮やかな作品となっておりますが、そういったその色使いを決めていく中で、チャレンジしたこととはありますでしょうかね。ちょっと悩んだとか、すごい課題にぶち当たったとか、そういった経験はありますでしょうか。
そうですね。色に関しては、ご指摘の通り、すごく、カラフルな色彩を目指しました。ちょっとね、日本のアニメの作品にしては少し大人向けな作品だとは思ってはいるんですけど、まあ、大人っぽい表現をしようとすると、どうしてもこう色を落ち着かせていく方向にディレクションすることが多くて、でもなんかこの作品は恋愛を扱っているので、まあ、恋愛のときめきとかを表現するにはやはり色は華やかな方がいいなと思いまして、後半冬とかも出てくるんですけど、まあ、その冬のシーンとかもなるべく地味になりすぎないようにちゃんと花があるように、気を使っていきました。それでそうですね、苦労した点としてはですね、女性の服装が特に、気を使いましたね。女性はそのお金持ちではないので、服を着回してたりするんですね。同じ服をずっと着てるというか、正確に言うとそのスカートとか上着だけ着回したりとかして、いろんなバリエーションで見せていくみたいな感じにしているんですけども、そうするとですね、シーンの色と合っているかどうか、シーンの雰囲気ですね、雰囲気の色と合っているかどうかとか、組み合わせた時に変じゃないかとか、女性らしさが出てる色かどうかとか、そういう色のバリエーションを決める時にちょっと制限が生まれたので、そこはちょっと難しかったですね。組み合わせても大丈夫な色にする、それでいて華やかさを失わないっていう、その塩梅がちょっと難しかったですね。でなおかつそうですね、後半に行くに従って少しちょっと色づいていく感じにしてるんですよ。最初はちょっとグリーン系を多めにしてたんですけど、後半はちょっと赤系を入れて、なんかだんだんこうジョゼが花開いていく感じというか、華やかな感じをプラスしていってる、まあ、大人っぽくなっている感じもちょっと出せればなと思いまして、その辺のジョゼの服装はとても悩みました。
Yeah, so as you pointed out, this film uses a lot of colors, is very colorful and very vibrant. And coming into this adaptation, I think this film is more geared towards a more mature audience rather than, for children or, young adults. And you might get the impression that, well, we pretty much always get the impression that, films that are more geared towards, adults and grown-ups tend to be a little bit flatter in terms of the color tonality and vibrancy. But we wanted to make sure that this was, a love story, a very romantic, love story. So we wanted to make sure that that feeling of, vibrancy was there through the uses of our colors. So we made sure that we used a lot of colors in the film for that reason. Even in the latter half of the movie, where the season turns to winter, a lot of films tend to portray winter as this very bleak and flat tone, color tone wise. But we made sure to add flowers here and there to still give a sense of color and vibrancy, even when it's like winter and cold. And as far as the challenges that we faced in choosing what type of colors to use at certain points was definitely in the way we portrayed Josee's clothing. And so if you've seen the film, Josee, is not exactly a wealthy person. She's, very humble in terms of, her wealth. And so it's not like she's buying clothes left and right all the time. She has a limited number of clothes, and she sort of just cycles through, each one of them, top and skirt. She might wear the same skirt with a different top, in one scene, and in another scene, she might be wearing the same top with a different skirt, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we wanted to stay true to her sort of, humble background, we realized that, her wardrobe and the colors that she has in the wardrobe is very limited. And so we took extra time and care into considering whether the clothing that she's wearing in each particular scene will actually match, the atmosphere of the scene, or is it going to match her personality? Is it going to match the feeling of that scene? Since she had a very limited wardrobe and like a color palette within her clothing. If you also sort of notice throughout the film, in the beginning, she was wearing more greener colors. But as she gets to the later stages of the film, she starts to wear more redder colors and more bright colors. And through that, we wanted to sort of illustrate her sort of, blooming into, like maturity and into this sort of colorful, realized human being. And so that was one of the, elements, Josee's clothing and the colors that are used in her clothing was something that was very important in the portrayal of the character and for the film, for the entire film.
Wow. Just as we wrap up here, you've worked in TV before as a director, but this is your debut film as a director. How much of an adjustment was there for you?
最後にですね、田村監督は、以前もテレビのお仕事で監督をされているということなんですけれども、今作で映画の作品デビューということだったんですけれども、その普段のそのテレビの監督という仕事と、今回映画の監督という仕事について、自分のやり方、自分の仕事の進め方っていうところにどういった調整をかけましたでしょうかっていう質問です。
なるほど。そうですね。やはりちょっとテレビだとたまたま、流れていたものを見て面白かったって言ってもらえる人がいるんですけど、映画の場合だと予告を見て面白そうだなと思ってお金を払って見るタイプなので、そもそも見てもらうのにちょっとハードルが高いなと思ってまして、デザインであったりコンセプトであったりっていうところはすごくちょっと気を使いましたね。なんで特に主人公のジョゼが車椅子だったりするので、なんか何ですかね、お説教臭いというか硬くなるテーマに見えすぎないように誰もが楽しめるエンタメの一つとして受け取れるようなそんな普遍性のある作品に見えるといいなと思って、そこは、気をつけました。あとそうですね、暗い中で集中して見てもらえるっていう前提で作ってはいるので、テレビだとちょっと繊細すぎて伝わらないかもしれないって思うところを映画だとチャレンジしやすいかなと思いまして、表情のちょっとした気づきであったりとか仕草であったり、そこからきっとジョゼやツネはこういうふうに考えているに違いないっていうことを想像させるような直接言葉で伝えるんじゃなくて見た人が考えてもらえるような芝居っていうのを意識して、演出してみました。
ありがとうございます。Yeah, so in TV, when you think of always like, oh, I want to watch that film. It's sort of passive, right? You kind of flipping it through the channel and you see something and then you might find it interesting there. So you might watch it or might just, flip to another channel. And so, it's this sort of passive commitment on the audience's perspective when it comes to TV. But with movies, it's a lot more of an intentional engagement, right? Because they might have seen, a promotional video or something and say, oh yeah, that looks interesting, but they also have to, take the effort of going out and paying money to go and see it. And it's just there's a lot more at stake there. And it's just more intentional. So we wanted to make sure that we don't skimp out on design or any on the concepting phase or anything like that. And as far as the specific elements of the movie goes, again, Josee being this woman on a wheelchair, and the movie being about having this disability, we didn't want this movie to have this tone of this sort of lecturing sort of tone to the audience. We wanted it to be a very enjoyable, entertainment movie, for the audience. And so we didn't, want to have that sort of tonality. And again, when you go to a movie or when you watch a movie, you're usually have a big screen and it's dark and you're basically focused on the movie alone. Whereas in TV, you're not that focused, right? And so we can do a lot more with the movie in terms of putting in details and stuff that you wouldn't normally notice when you're just watching TV passively in a film. So things like facial expressions, mannerisms of all the different characters, the very small things that show what the characters are going through emotionally, and letting the audience use their imagination to sort of take those visual cues and use their imaginations to really see what the characters are feeling, what they're thinking, was something that we really focused on and made sure to nail on those details. So those are some of the adaptations that I made going into directing a movie as opposed to TV.
Nice. Well, for those of you watching, subscribe for more interviews and go to goldderby.com to make your Oscar predictions. Thank you, Kotaro, for talking with me today.
はい、今日は、田村監督、お話をお聞かせいただき、本当にどうもありがとうございました。
こちらこそありがとうございました。